Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and the president of the Football Writers Association of America. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. Thanks to Brian Driscoll at Irish Breakdown for setting it up for us. If you want to subscribe, just go over to YouTube, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. Bill, welcome in. It's September 11th, and we are I noticed you retweeted it too. Everyone knows how September 11th touches the college football world with the Boston College lacrosse player Willis Crowther, who saved 12 lives at the Twin Towers, and he was using his trademark red bandana to help him breathe. He, has been honored several times, rightfully so, by Boston College, etc. ESPN did a 13-minute video on it, narrated by Ed Burns, written by Tom Rinaldi. Just ESPN absolutely at its best. Some amazing stuff. And I saw you retweeted it too. If you get some time, definitely watch that thing today.
Yeah, so today's a weird day, man. It's college football secondary, right? Like when you see stories like that, or obviously, I'm going to address it. Why not? Charlie Kirk was murdered yesterday, and people have opinions. People disagree. I look back at September 11th and think, I remember being a college journalist, student newspaper, and we put out a paper that day. It was brutal, and we did our jobs. But I thought that day we're still super proud of it, and it's weird, man. Like it's hard to think about college football with all of that going on today. But I thought college football that year, and I was covering Ohio University, and they, they're playing Ohio State and everything this week. It helped bring us back. And maybe that's ambitious, but that's how I feel. Everybody's got to, I try to stay out of politics and sports as much as possible, but sometimes it's impossible to do that. And I just think, hopefully the college football that you and I argue about and cover is insignificant compared to like what Willis Crowther did. So I hope we keep that in mind today, keep Charlie Kirk's family in mind, keep everybody in mind. Like, I respect your opinion. I don't always agree with you about college football. And that's such a small scale thing for our country. Like I'll listen to people, and I had to talk to Grant about all this yesterday, and it was tough. So I don't know. I guess, week 3, like I said, secondary, we will do a show obviously and talk about these games. But to me, it's like things like that are always on the back of my mind when we do these things.
Yes, definitely. If you get a chance, it's 13 minutes long. It's a terrific video. It's something you don't forget, and it's something worth remembering. And I say, you mentioned the United States was proud of it. I don't know if we're proud of the response to the 9/11 attacks. That's what we're most proud of.
Yeah, and Wells, like that story is amazing. I share it every year, and Boston College obviously takes that very seriously, as they should. What are we? We're 1 year away from 25 years ago, 24 years that happened. And again, I just remember the games being canceled. And we don't go too far down the road here, but I was sitting in Tom Bay's office. He was the Ohio University athletic director at the time. And I was thinking about this last night. Like, we didn't say anything. We just stared at the TV in shock and horror and those kind of things. And, again, like a lot of the journalists, we put out a newspaper, which again is insignificant at the time, but all of those journalists are still in the field, and we're very proud of who we are. I mentioned to you before we came on that Jared Smalley's a Marshall guy at NBC, and they put together a fun Ohio University, Ohio State, Rufus Brutus Dateline thing, and we talk about that later. But like just being around good journalists all the time, I think that's the lesson from yesterday and today is what we do is important. Our opinions matter, and we influence a lot of people. College football compared to the nation, that's two separate things. But that's how I approach my job. I know you do. I know we work hard, and we'll do our best to cover week 3 here, but just knowing that it's not as important as a lot of other things.
Week 3, technically sort of week 4, as we remember week 0 back then. It was never sure exactly what week it is. But yeah, let's get into week 3. Before we do that, we'll have some Troche trivia, and then we will get into Arch Manning and the grimace scene around the world, and then get into our viewer's guide. We got tons of it's a full slate. It's a fun slate, and hopefully we can celebrate the sport this weekend as we remember 9/11 two days before Saturday kicks off. So my Troche trivia, it's a layup, and I actually I meant to change it and I didn't change it. So because it was in your story, so I know you know the answer. But can you name the last Tennessee quarterback to beat Georgia?
I think I talked to him a couple years ago about it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a layup. I know I challenged you last week with that USF, or 2 days ago with the USF thing. So I'm giving you a layup, I guess, on Thursday. Hopefully that doesn't give you too much momentum heading into the confidence contest. So, which you are building a small lead right now. So we'll revisit the Troche trivia at the end of the show. So let's get into preparing for week 3. But before we do, let's look back. Is Arch hurt, Bill? Video circulating, and I noticed it during the broadcast too. I don't know if you were watching, that Arch clearly grimacing in pain on a throw in the San Jose State game. He grimaced like as he threw it, didn't quite grab the shoulder. It was a terrible pass, went to like the shin of his wide receiver on a crossing pattern. Potentially explains why he's not looking like he did last year. The sidearm thing was kind of new that you and I talked about. He wasn't really doing that last year. Is there an issue? Someone asked Sark this weekend, or this week at the press conference, and his quote, of course, was, "I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the restroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that."
I don't know what to do with that one.
That Arch was pooping on the field, or what was he? I didn't really understand the quote, other than it brought more attention, not less attention, to something that he's trying to keep down.
It was a bizarre response. I mean, at minimum, it's bizarre. So I'm glad you brought this up because I can answer the question with the question: is he hurt? If he was hurt, why would he play the next 2 games? They did sit Quinn Ewers out last year for 2 games that Arch Manning started. And then I saw Chris Hummer, a friend of the program here. He was quoted, he talked to CBS Sport, with CBS Sports, and his quote was, "There's just kind of frustration for those around the program that every little thing with Arch Manning is a story." Bullseye emoji right there. I don't know. I don't think he's hurt. And then Chris goes on to say, if he did on that play that's getting circulated, that there was a San Jose State defensive lineman bearing down on him. So maybe he was just kind of preparing to get hit. But he's right. Every Arch Manning story is a story. Every Arch Manning non-story is a story. We've done that at Sporting News for 3 years.
But I don't know that it's a non-story. We've talked about it. He doesn't look the same.
His mechanics,
throwing motion is weird. We literally talked about that last week.
But the mechanics are, I mean, that's the question you ask then. If we don't think, okay, is he injured? No. Why did his mechanics change? That's the question you ask Sark. Then he's not going to talk about the mechanics of how we use the restroom then, or give some weird answer. Instead, he's got to answer that one, because I think that is worth talking about. Even when we were watching the Texas game, why are his mechanics different? Did he change something in the offseason? I think that can be a story. But, he did throw 4 touchdowns last week. And again, if he was actually hurt, I just compare it to the NFL. Brock Purdy has some variant of turf toe, apparently. Is that what I read this morning? He's probably going to sit out. They sit out guys. You're not going to play against UTEP and Sam Houston.
True.
If you're hurt. There's no need for Arch. Arch doesn't need reps against Sam Houston. He needs to be healthy when they go play at the Swamp in a couple weeks. So I think that's where I'm at on it. And to Chris's point, we do overdo. We don't, maybe not us, but I think Arch is overdone. If his name was Arch Griffin,
it's not fair that sports journalism has turned into, chasing clicks, period.
We do that. We try not to at Sporting News. We I think, again, it's kind of circles back to the top of the show, honestly. Like, Bill, I know you write excellent features. I know we have a great enterprise team at Sporting News. We have really good content producers. Shout out Morgan Moriarty. She's crushing it this week. She does, because she gets after it, right? Like, we have Dan Tracy. We have good young journalists at Sporting News, and we try to do a good job. But do we write a lot about Arch? Sure. But I think we've got to write about him in the right spots. And I think, this is something we could talk about Lagway or Bryce Underwood or whoever. I was kind of saying it in our meeting yesterday. 5-star quarterbacks are going to struggle a little bit. Just because you have 5 stars doesn't mean you're not going to go through the development process. And Arch is doing that. Regardless if he's hurt or not, I think there'll be ups and downs with him this year. I still think he'll come back next year. And by the end of year 2, the whole Manning thing, will take off. There's a lot of potential there. I think we just got to let him do it.
Why do you think Sark was so testy?
He gets like that. He does. Like, it was, why not just say Arch is fine? Right. We're Arch is fine. He can, less is more, right? Like, Arch is fine, on that play that the video is circulating around, you had a guy bearing down on him. And if I was one of the reporters, I would ask about his mechanics. Like, did Arch change something in his throwing mechanics in the offseason because it looks different than last year? That's the question you have to ask.
So, yeah. All right, let's move on from Arch. It does answer some questions in my mind, but anyway.
Right.
So one story before we get into our viewers guide, the Big 12 suspended some officials last for one game. They allowed Missouri to punt a kickoff following a first quarter touchdown against Kansas. Missouri was flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct after the touchdown, and they backed up to their own 20-yard line for the kickoff, and Missouri treated it like a safety and punted it, and they weren't supposed to be allowed to do that. The Big 12 suspended the whole crew. I did hear some reports that wasn't necessarily their only mistake during the game, right, but it was almost a good excuse to drop the hammer. What did you think about that? Because you don't really see it very often. And, should crews be held a little bit more accountable publicly to some of the mistakes they make?
We talked about this Tuesday, that the Big 12 hasn't beat the SEC head-to-head in a game. So, I mean, is some of that trickling in? Maybe. I don't know. When I read the story, I didn't see this live, and then I went back and like, kickoff or punt, I don't really care.
Right. That's zero effect on who won the game. Zero.
Right. Like, I don't. But if they were erratic and there were some missed calls throughout the game, then yeah, you have to grade officials on a week-to-week basis. I'm the same guy that was sitting here last week going on and on about Jayshon Barham and the targeting call that was horrible against New Mexico that had an impact on the Oklahoma game, a real one, because a very good defensive player was off the field in the first half. So, yeah, I think maybe it's a grading thing. But at first glance, I was like, well, why would you want to punt from the 20? Like, I don't understand. I get it kind of, but that was, who cares? But if we are grading officials, yeah, you got to hold them accountable. And some of the ACC crew, Big 12 crew, SEC crew, a hint of that might be, yeah, that the SEC, like we said, is 8-2 against Power 4, hasn't lost against the Big 12 in any of those like kind of mid-range head-to-head games.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's get into our viewers guide. We'll start off with the noon window, number 12, Clemson at Georgia Tech. That is on ESPN. Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite. I will be there in the house for that one. This is a whiteout game for Georgia Tech. Not quite the Penn State whiteout tradition, but a whiteout nonetheless. They've been hyping this game up around here. Haynes King is reportedly healthy and ready to go after missing Gardner Webb with a lower body injury. Backup quarterback Aaron Fillo was good in his absence. He was a key returnee for these guys for his physical. As Haynes King plays the quarterback position, they need a dependable backup. and he is that. So Clemson rallied last week, of course, from a 16-0 deficit against Troy. And then they lost their opener 17-10 to LSU, first road game. Clemson is not really running the ball right now. Tech gave up 150 on the ground to Colorado. So I know it's a cliche, but we're really going to find out a lot about these two teams in this game.
Yeah, and the line's dropped enough that there's some value in Clemson now. Like, if you think Clemson's going to win, just take them. The running game, yeah, Haynes King. I mean, if
they've won 9 straight in the series.
Right. Like, there's 2 games we're going to talk about like this where the line's tricky to me, and this is one of them. If the plan is just to run Haynes King and, try to run the ball and milk the clock, Georgia Tech will lose. They need to throw the ball a little bit in this game. That Haynes King can't just be a battering ram because Clemson allows 3-point yards per carry. But what you said is true. Like, I can say all I want, but the Tigers haven't run the ball effectively. And if they don't run the ball well, you're throwing a little bit more on Klubnik here. So, interesting stage, a big moment for Georgia Tech. I think there's a lot of, casual college football fans, and I like Brent Key a lot, that kind of want to see Georgia Tech put a nail in Clemson in September, because Brent's a good guy and fun press conference. Has done a great job since the last time these teams met, when wasn't he just taken over? Like, when they played Clemson, or had he taken over yet?
I'm not sure he had even taken over.
Right. They got beat by 3 touchdowns, but this is really his first chance to go beat Clemson. And like you said, big moment for the program. Probably going to be sold out. But again, there's a little value in Clemson here, where you can't base your pick based on their first half against Troy, to me. Like,
Dabo brought out the rat poison this week. Did you see that?
Yeah, he's calling out some of his players, and I had a discussion with ESPN Upstate South Carolina about this yesterday, where we've had this discussion all the time, where Dabo was kind of saying they haven't lived up to some players or can't deal with the preseason expectation. Then you start blaming the preseason polls, and I will say this as long as I live: ACC fans down there in North Carolina, you're not watching Wisconsin and you're not watching Illinois and Indiana if they don't have numbers next to it. That's college football. You gotta have the numbers next to the names. Otherwise, and you can use South Florida. We'll get into that. But point being, it's a big game for Georgia Tech, not just because it's Clemson, but Clemson has a number next to their name, and it's a pretty high number. Otherwise, you're not storming the field after. So,
and Georgia Tech has done well against teams that have number next to their name. They are 6-1 against ACC opponents, ranked ACC opponents, since Key took over.
Yeah, he's a great coach. I won't say great. He's an up-and-coming, really fun coach that's done a very good job with that program. So, and we'll see. I mean, this is a big moment for them.
Clemson loses. Tyler from Spartanburg is going to get on the line and see what happens there. All right, so also in the noon window, keep the clicker handy. We got Wisconsin at number 19, Alabama, noon on ABC. Note to Kalen DeBoer, do not lose this one. Number 4, Oregon goes to Northwestern's tiny little field. That's the big noon game on Fox. And then Central Michigan at number 23, Michigan, on the Big Ten Network, the Connor Stallions Bowl, of course, with no Sharon Moore.
Right. A couple things there. Oregon, Northwestern, the only thing I'll probably watch is how high the grass is at Northwestern. Like, is that the best way to slow them down?
Isn't that a turf field, the one by the lake now? They're temporary.
They might have turf now. But I liked it when they had the grass. Maybe I'm wrong. I would bring the grass back for that one, though, because you're going to want to slow down that Oregon team. Michigan will throw the ball a little bit this week. We talked about that with Underwood. Central Michigan gave up 300 yards passing the last 2 weeks to Pitt last week. I think Bryce Underwood will bounce back. And then Alabama, Wisconsin. I said this yesterday on Sirius. Is Wisconsin going to compete? They're not going to win that game, but can they, they got beat 42-17 last year, and Jalen Milroe was a problem. Can they hang around? Or are they going to get embarrassed down in Tuscaloosa? That's what I'm watching there. I don't anticipate the Badgers win. But, again, another one of those head-to-head. SEC Big Ten, 1-1. who goes 2-1, and I pay attention to those things.
Ryan Williams cleared out of concussion protocol for that one for Alabama. All right, in the afternoon window, the big one, number 6, Georgia at number 15, Tennessee, 3:30 on ABC. Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite. Georgia has owned this series recently, 4 straight wins in Knoxville by an average of 30.5 points, which you pointed out in your preview. But is Tennessee playing better than Georgia at this point? Maybe. UT, they took apart Syracuse pretty easily. They had absolutely no problem in a week 2 cupcake game. Georgia's had 2 cupcakes, basically, both good, not great wins. Gunnar Stockton piling up the screen passes right now. Georgia run game is ranked 7th in the SEC in yards per carry. 5 of the 6 teams in front of them have played a Power 4 opponent, and Georgia has not. So there's some concerns, I think, with the Georgia run game. And then, of course, UT riding high with Mr. Joey Aguilar. You've got a great feature on him. We published this morning at sportingnews.com. Incredible road for him. Diablo Valley to Rocky Top is the headline. And fun guy to root for if you like those underdog type stories. The atmosphere, I'm sure, is going to be incredible at Neyland Stadium. You gotta put the history aside and say, is this an accurate point spread? Because based on just this year, UT probably should be favored at home.
Yeah, and I'm sure Kirby's telling his guys that. You bring up a great point about Gunnar Stockton. He's just 5. He's thrown 10 passes of 10 yards or more against Marshall and Austin Peay. They're not really throwing down the field with him unless they're holding back.
Now UT is missing their top 2 corners.
Right. They'll throw a little bit here.
So maybe they will throw it downfield a little bit.
And as I pointed out, I don't have the exact numbers in that Aguilar story today. Like Tennessee through 2 weeks with Nico last year, the numbers were similar. They were up around 600 yards of offense.
Offense kind of.
Then they played Oklahoma in Oklahoma, and I was like, why aren't they scoring 1 billion points? Then they played at Arkansas. Why aren't they scoring? They are at home. Joey Aguilar is a great story. I talked to Mike Darr. He was his coach at Diablo Valley, and he was telling me, he was describing the JUCO scene there. And it was a enlightening conversation, because when you talk about JUCO football, you hear, well, Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers played there, of course. But the thing that kind of stuck with me was, he's like, when I recruit a JUCO kid out of high school, I let them know that this isn't 12th grade to 13th grade. You might be playing against a 25-year-old that got hurt. You might be playing against a military kid. You might be playing against, he said it is very competitive. That JUCO scene in California, they do produce a lot of, national championship programs. And then the idea that Joey Aguilar was considering being a firefighter, and 4 years later, he will be a cult hero in Tennessee if he breaks this losing streak. Josh Heupel is 2-2 against Florida. He's 2-2 against Alabama, and we remember the Alabama celebrations. Hasn't beat Georgia though.
Oh, they're ready to rub it in Georgia's face.
They haven't beat Georgia, and I'll answer the trivia question later. But it's been a minute, and Georgia has dominated, and that's why it's like a hard line to read, because it's gone down, and Georgia were kind of seemingly down on them. But would I be surprised at all if Georgia just came in there and took their souls? No. It reminds me of 2 years ago when they were 1-2. At least in the AP poll.
Tennessee was number 1, weren't they?
Yeah, and we were all ready for Tennessee to beat Georgia. And all I remember from that game is Hendon Hooker had Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on his back. Like they were just in his face that entire game. So can Tennessee get that going offensively? Going to be a fun atmosphere, fun game. Can't wait to watch it.
Keep the clicker handy in this window for number 18, South Florida, at number 5, Miami. That one's on 4:30 on the CW. Let's do some research on Friday to figure out where the CW is on your listing, so you don't miss this one, because who knows, right? It's a 17-point spread maybe, but just like South Florida, they've been the story of the year so far. Very fun team. Pitt at West Virginia, 3:30 ESPN, backyard brawl, of course. USC at Purdue, 3:30 CBS. USC has to do the whole 2-time zone road trip. They didn't handle it last year, that's for sure. Oregon State at number 21 Texas Tech is the Fox game at 3:30. And if you want to see Michael Vick on the sidelines at Norfolk State, they are visiting Rutgers at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Vick's Spartans beat D2 Virginia State in overtime last week for his first win.
Yeah, obviously here, South Florida, can they keep it going? Spoke with RG3 this week, and his Heisman front runner is Byron Brown. And he made a good case for it. He does his top 9 Heisman contenders each week, and he had Byron Brown at the top. And, here it is. If South Florida beats Miami, we'll have some more AP pool talk because they will have beat 3 ranked opponents in a row. And as I saw with On3 and Andy Staples, he brought up, what if Tulane beats Duke? Those 2 programs will have a heck of a collision course going on in the American Conference. In the Darian Mensah Bowl, Tulane versus Duke this weekend. That ought to be a really good one too. So, there's plenty to watch in this window, but that one, I got to find the CW on mine. Somebody in our meeting yesterday said something about Riverdale. I haven't watched that channel in years.
Yep. What was it? Baylor SMU was on last week. That was a good one too. That was on the CW as well. So I don't know if South Florida can trick one of the Hurricanes into spitting on them at a very crucial point in the game. That could help them pull the upset. Evening window. We got 2 good ones to talk about. Number 16, Texas A&M at number 8, Notre Dame, 7:30 on NBC. Notre Dame this morning, I just saw a 6.5-point favorite. Line dropped just a touch. It seems like 2 months since Notre Dame played that Sunday night game against Miami. What did we learn from the Irish that night? CJ Carr was pretty good. Jeremiah Love was underused, and the receivers still aren't all that for ND. Miami was the better team when push came to shove down the fourth quarter. I thought it was disappointing from an ND perspective to give up that winning drive after they had stacked some good possessions, good defensive possessions together, couldn't finish it off. Texas A&M, kind of a blah opener against UTSA, but crushed Utah State in week 2. Marcel Reed, quarterback, has put up some good numbers in 2 games, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's averaging 250 passing yards, 50 rushing yards. He was disappointing in a big spot last year against Texas, but he can also get loose, And final thing, Notre Dame won 23-13 last year in College Station.
Yeah, I mean, Marcel Reed's the couple players that come into focus. He's one. He's off to a really good start. Another guy that RG3 likes is a potential sleeper for the Heisman if this keeps up. Over 100 yards rushing, hasn't thrown an interception yet, and has the experience of playing in some of these big games. CJ Carr, home opener. I mean, there's going to be a lot of free Jeremiah Love. Give him the ball. I'm sure that sign will probably be out there at some point. But, having that, I left, as we've talked about, that I've left the Miami Notre Dame game thinking they just got beat. There was nothing to blame, or, that we always blame something, but Miami just beat them. And they can't afford that here. They're going to have to rise up. Texas A&M's defense has leaked a little bit in these 2 games. I watched them maybe for picks purposes against UTSA. They give up a late touchdown. Utah State moved the ball on them a little bit. So I do think Notre Dame would run the ball. Of the 3 games we've talked about with these tricky lines that are less than a touchdown, I'm probably most confident in Notre Dame to win because they're at home. The other 2 teams got to go do it on the road and deal with those elements. Notre Dame at home, I think the crowd will be jacked up. They know and as D-Rock Irish says, it is, I'm going to call him out a little bit. Every game's must win. That's what I always say. You must win every game, especially if you live in Pickerington, Ohio. But Notre Dame I like them here. I think they bounce back.
All right. Over on ABC at 7:30, Florida at number 3, LSU. LSU is a 7.5-point favorite. Florida's obviously been in the headlines all week. LSU had a little hangover after its big Clemson win and a 23-7 win over Louisiana Tech. Garrett Nussmeier was solid, but LSU probably they didn't run the ball like they expected to. Their top back, Caden Durham, 13 carries, 29 yards with a long of 5 against Louisiana Tech. Florida's run defense was solid in that loss to USF. So LSU's going to have to, let Nussmeier cook a little bit in this one. If this one goes south for Florida, look out. Remember that they entered the LSU game last year coming off a 32-point loss to Texas. That was probably the low point of the season. And then they upset LSU 27-16. Jaden Baugh sealed it with a 52-yard touchdown with 1:30 to play. Can they pick themselves up again?
Death Valley at night. This is that back against the pregame speech is easy. Nobody, our backs are against the wall. Show me what you're made of. I said something in our college meeting yesterday. I was kind of cracking on DJ Lagway a little bit, but then I went in and looked at his numbers, and I think they need to let him throw the ball down the field more.
They're not that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's not that bad. Maybe some of the play calling's questionable, particularly late in the game, but when you if you can trust your quarterback to throw the ball down the field, they have to be able to live with the mistakes. And the problem with this game is those mistakes get amplified in an environment like that. And I think that's what Billy Napier is going to have to weigh offensively. LSU, to your point, got to be able to run the ball. I think they had a hangover too. I think Clemson and LSU had one big hangover from their game last week.
Yeah, I think
both of them did. And because some of it is that was a super fit. You were there. They were hitting each other. They were moving fast. It was physical, tiresome slugfest of a game. And I think we'll see more out of LSU.
It was built up for months and
right
all summer long.
So like last week, I give both of those teams kind of a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, especially LSU because they were at home and they were never threatened. So I like the Tigers here. I think I actually like them big. Not confidence pool big, but I like them to at least win by double digits and keep Brian Kelly and this team moving forward. And for Florida, you got to stare down the barrel of it's going to get worse because they have 2 more top 10 opponents coming on the schedule. It's a ranked opponent every week. So, I feel for Billy Napier. I hate that we have to do these hot lists and coaching lists and all that, but just listening to the tone of guys like Matt Hayes and others down in Florida on the radio right now, his days are numbered.
Gotcha. Yeah, not a surprise. I keep the clicker handy during this window. We've got Arkansas at number 17, Ole Miss at 7:00 on ESPN, and we've got Vanderbilt at number 11, South Carolina at 7:45 on the SEC network.
SEC infomercial here.
I know 3 games in a row, SEC.
And I kind of want to watch all of them. I think Pavia and I know you'll be locked in on Pavia and Sellers. What a game that could be. That line keeps dropping too. And then Talon Green for Arkansas, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Second year of Petrino. It tends to work out. So that game could get interesting. So we've got a lot of
like Ole Miss this year. You can't just pencil them in for 50 points like you had like the past couple of years.
I think that could be a tough game. And Lane, I gave him credit last week. Like I said, he's got a young quarterback with some talent. In that game, turnovers will matter. So Austin Simmons has to protect the football again. And this is a chance for Arkansas to kind of pop. By the way, Notre Dame has to go there later in the season. So something, Irish, if you're clicking around a little bit during the many commercial breaks of a college football game, I'd go check a couple plays of Arkansas out.
That's true. Very true. All right, let's get into our confidence contest. We pick 5 games a week against the spread. Any games we want, we order them. Confidence bowl style. 5 points, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 for the most confident. Last week you got me 8 points to 6. You got North Carolina at your your 5-pointer. I got my 5-pointer as well, UNLV, but I got a push. We both got the push for the Iowa State 3-point game. You can just write it down. It's going to be a 3-point game every year, right? So for the year, you're up 18-15, Bill. 18-15 after 2 weeks, after 2 weeks. So let's jump in. You can go first. Give me your 5-pointer for this week.
I think Oregon's going to keep it rolling. It's 27.5. Dipped a little bit. I get it's an early kick. I understand all those things. And
I had 28.5 this morning, actually. Does that change your mind at all? 28.5. Yeah, because I was debating 4 touchdowns, and then you got to go a little more too. So
kind of, but I'll stick with it. I'm
stick
fine
with it.
Yeah, I think they're going to win like 40. If I was picking that score, I would probably go like 42-10, which is still covering. So,
Yep.
I'll stick with it. It's fine.
It's that
It was 28. Then I thought I had it at 27.5. So, but either way, I'll keep it. I think the Ducks are quietly looking, and it's not just about the blowout last week.
They tried not to be quiet last week.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of like they're going to be right there at the national championship. When this thing settles, they're going to be right. They're going to be through this whole Big Ten race. They play Penn State in a couple weeks. They don't play Ohio State, Michigan. Starting to add up for Dan Lanning, and you forget how bad he is not afraid to run it up. So I think they go and take care of their business against the Northwestern team that had 3 points against Tulane. Yeah. This will be worse than Tulane. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, if I had to pick it, I was going to pick Oregon. I didn't love the 28.5. I don't love the 2 time zone thing. You've got that on my brain. So
we'll see. I'm going to trust it. But it may take them a minute to get going. Yeah,
it's a really weird environment because it's so small with the temporary field and stuff like that. So anyway, all right, 5-pointer for me. Pitt -7 at West Virginia. Pitt 2-0 against Duquesne and Central Michigan. So not exactly the toughest teams, but they beat Central Michigan by 28. And West Virginia, are they that much better than Central Michigan? They lost to a MAC school last week, as you are well aware.
I am.
We thought year one was probably going to be a struggle for Rich Rod back in Morgantown, despite the excitement. I think we both think Pitt is pretty good this year. So I think covering a touchdown here won't be a problem.
Yeah, that's not bad. For my 4, I'm going to go Michigan 27.5. I think even without Sharon Moore, Central Michigan, like I said, giving up 300 plus in the air. Michigan's defense pretty good. Will stop the run. This feels like your garden variety Michigan 38-10 type game.
No Sharon Moore, Bill. What about?
I'm sure Biff will do fine. And they got to get tuned up because they do play Nebraska next week. And I think you will see Bryce Underwood throw the ball down the field a little bit, and we'll see if he can do it. But I'm pretty confident Michigan wins that one pretty big.
All right, my 4-pointer, I'm taking the other team from last week's primetime game. Oklahoma, -21.5 at Temple. Oklahoma has a chance to win they had a chance to win by more than 21.5 against Michigan. If special teams didn't make so many mistakes, if they get those cleaned up, should be trouble for the Owls. Oklahoma won this game 51-3 last year in Norman. Temple, they've beaten UMass and Howard so far, but obviously this is a different animal. Letdown spot for Oklahoma, but I think an enthusiastic road crowd might actually help the Sooners keep their concentration and kind of blow this one out.
Yeah, I don't know if I should do that now or in a second, but I also have that on my board just to let you know. Memphis, I got Memphis -3.5 against Troy. I like the Tigers. That's my 3. A little bit of an emotional letdown for Troy here. And they're at home, but I like this Memphis team. They're probably the team in the American Conference we're not talking about at all. Mm-hmm. I still think they're in the mix. So give me the Tigers for 3. We'll keep it rolling with them.
All right. 3-pointer, I'm going with Notre Dame, -6.5. That's the latest line. They won by 10.
I don't hate it.
They won by 10 last year at College Station. Yeah, I think you're going to add it to your list too. Maybe not. They beat Texas A&M by 10 last year in College Station in week 1. They've got a bye coming off a bye from Miami. CJ Carr, pleasant surprise, I thought. I thought the defense, I think they can slow Marcel Reed. Home opener, night game, good atmosphere. I just think ND's a better overall team, and I feel better about the QB situation now than I did before the Miami game.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. For D-Rock, I have a stat for him. There was 7 ranked FBS teams that played FCS schools in week 2, and the combined score was 393-45. So I think we can wipe those off the schedule. There were a couple 70-point games last week, including Ohio State Grambling. I think Florida State just scored again. Yeah, we don't need to see those games. So my 2 is Oklahoma. I'm with you. I took Temple last year in that game. I remember I took Temple to cover whatever that line was, and Oklahoma just crushed them.
It wasn't 50, so you didn't win that one, apparently.
No, Casey Keeler doing a nice job there early, but there's work to do. It is a road game, slight risk for hangover. That line has dropped a couple points, which, again, that means we're anticipating a hangover. I think Mateer keeps pouring it on, and they win by 20. What is it, 21.5?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'm good there for my 2.
All right, you took my alma mater last week. I'm taking them this week. Vanderbilt +4 at South Carolina. Trivia time. Who does Vanderbilt have the longest SEC losing streak against? It is South Carolina by far. 16 straight.
Wow.
Second longest is LSU at 10. They've beaten the Florida, the Georgias, Tennessee within 5 years or so. But South Carolina has had their number. But last week's second half, incredible domination. The one common opponent, obviously, Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech by 24 on the road. South Carolina beat Virginia Tech by 13 in Atlanta, and they needed an 80-yard punt return in the fourth quarter to kind of get that done. I think Vanderbilt's playing better right now, so I'm going to take Vanderbilt.
Don't hate it. For my 1, is it 3.5 or 3 with Clemson?
3.5.
I'll take it. I'm going to take Tigers. As much as I think it'll be a good story for Georgia Tech to win, and I'm rooting for Brent Key and Haynes King. Yeah, I just think the Tigers.
No, 3.
I'll take that -3, and I think the Clemson, if they win, it's going to be by a touchdown.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough. So, this is the second one that I'm kind of like, maybe I should take Notre Dame here, but I'm going to go Clemson on the road. They get the 3, and Dabo probably has some wonky press conference afterward about having faith in his team and that kind of thing. But I'll take the Tigers on the road.
The highlight of that game is going to be when Mia Troche takes the field at halftime.
Exactly. You should be proud.
With the color guard and does her thing with the marching band. So my 1-pointer, I'm going Georgia -3.5 at Tennessee.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. I thought you did say it's looking Tennessee, so go Georgia kind of thing. That's sort of what I feel like I'm doing. Like you said, maybe Georgia's holding back a little bit. I'm going to go with that theory. I'm leaning into a little bit of history here. You like to say, I'll believe it when I see it with Penn State and Ohio State. Maybe the same holds true for Georgia and Tennessee. So, yeah, I mean, we could see anything, but I'm going to go Georgia -3.5 here.
If they win, they're going to win by more than 3.
Yeah.
Like either you're going to just get that or Tennessee wins and we see the cigar guy again. But, well, no, they don't do that for that game. But anyway, yeah, I don't hate that pick at all.
So to review, you went 5 favorites, Bender. Oregon -28.5, Michigan -27.5, Memphis -3.5, Oklahoma -21.5, Clemson -3. And then I went with 4 favorites. Pitt at 5 with -7, Oklahoma -21.5, Notre Dame at home -6.5 against Texas A&M, Vanderbilt +4 at South Carolina, and then Georgia -3.5 on the road at Tennessee. So,
and my bonus was, again, I couldn't put the Bobcats play the Buckeyes.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that one.
So Rufus
too.
Real quick, and then we'll get out, and then we'll do the trivia because the trivia is easy and real quick. So Ohio University, my alma mater, plays Ohio State this weekend. 30+ point underdogs. The last time these teams played was probably the most infamous mascot fight of all time. Rufus, who was. And he didn't have that name for that long at that point. Went after Brutus, who is arguably the most beloved mascot in the whole thing, and took a swing at him and tackled him. And NBC4's Jared Smalley did a fantastic job. They did like a mock Dateline thing of this, and you should go watch it. It rippled afterward. Like, not only did Ohio State just beat down Ohio that day, then I remember for 2 weeks it was they should press charges. You can't attack, you can't touch Brutus, and
Brutus leads the breakdown in the
right.
in the head huddle.
Yeah, he's a big deal, man. You don't mess my kids get pictures with Brutus and all of that. And we're not necessarily like the biggest Ohio State fans in the world, but they love Brutus. Everybody loves Brutus. So, but on the flip side, and I was bringing this up, for us, it's kind of a special moment. Ohio has probably the most of all the MAC schools in Ohio. We probably have the most graduates that live around here in Central Ohio. So a lot of them will be up the game. Some former players I know. It'll be fun, man. I think Navarro, we'll see how he does against Ohio State's just so damn good, man. They're so damn good all over the place. And I'm just hoping Ohio keeps it within 4 touchdowns. Ryan Day kind of destroys MAC schools. But I'll definitely have that on him, Peacock. And, they'll have those white on. Nobody has better white on white combo in college football than the Ohio Bobcats.
Ooh, bold statement.
Yeah.
Bold statement. So, all right, before we get out of here, Troche trivia. Here's your layup. Who's the last Tennessee quarterback to beat Georgia?
Joshua Dobbs. And I talked to him about it, and it kind of ties into the Aguilar thing because he said he was a Georgia guy that went to Tennessee.
Yep.
And you said, and you know that from living down there, a lot of the Tennessee and Georgia high school players, they mix, and one, Georgia has Tennessee guys, Tennessee has Georgia guys. It was a really memorable moment for him. He said he blacked out afterward. We remember Butch's reaction, but
so just so people don't remember, he threw a 43-yard Hail Mary on the final play of the game to give Tennessee a 34-31 win over Georgia in 2016.
To Jawan Jennings, who's probably on your fantasy team somewhere. What a game that was. I remember writing that in the aftermath. It was a wonderful game, and
they had time for one play. Georgia scored a touchdown with 16-ish seconds left to go. They got an unsportsmanlike celebration penalty. They had to kick off at their own 20-yard line, and UT returned the ball far enough for one snap, was within Hail Mary range. If they didn't get that celebration penalty, they wouldn't have been in range, likely wouldn't have been in range for the Hail Mary to even be attempted.
And they haven't won in Knoxville since 15. So they won back-to-back. That gave them back-to-back victories. They haven't won since. So going to be a fun, emotional weekend. And, you gave me a layup there and just kind of finish where we started. Enjoy the football, man. Enjoy your families. And, we'll get after it at Sporting News. We got plenty of good content this week. And, it just, given the events, the anniversary today and what happened yesterday, just be nice to people, man. Be nice and be, respect everybody. And even with these fan bases, I think you'll see some respect between them over the weekend. Maybe a couple fights, but, enjoy this football.
Wise words from Mr. Bill Bender, for sure. All right. Thank you to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or watching on the CFB YouTube channel. We got some loyal watchers. I won't say listeners, I'll say watchers for those guys. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you soon.